Hello Boxmoders and welcome to our webinar. My name is Vlad. I'm Product Marketing Manager at Boxmode. We are live on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you for joining. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me well. And also please note there is around 20-30 seconds broadcast delay that will cause some lags in communication. Hi Erwin, thanks for joining, thanks for letting me know. We'll wait a minute and we'll start in a moment. Well, I think we can start now. Hello once again, thanks for joining. And today we're going to talk about Boxmode scalability options. Each SaaS platform, it does have certain restrictions in terms of functionality, and it is not feasible to facilitate each particular use case. And often there is going to be some small detail that is missing, some widget, some feature that your business website requires, but it is not in the default tool set. But luckily, for a lot of such cases, there is a workaround. And during this webinar, I will cover some of the third-party instruments and general approaches to extending default functionality of the Boxmode to facilitate a wider variety of use cases. And here you can see the questions that we'll go through today. The first one is how to integrate your Boxmode contact form with Mailchimp, then how to embed Mailchimp form. Also, we'll touch on the Hubspot service as one of the many alternatives for those who don't like Mailchimp. And I'll show you how to add a Facebook Messenger to your website and how to connect Google Tag Manager and what it can be used for. Also, we'll talk about embedding an Instagram feed into your website, about an appointment scheduling widget, and the last one is going to be about adding the countdown timer. I would like to mention that we're not promoting any of the instruments mentioned above, and all these cases that we'll discuss are based on actual requests from real customers, and I hope that by answering these questions during the webinar, you will find something useful and some interesting insights on how you can enrich your Boxmode website. We're going to get a little bit technical, and occasionally I will be using terminology some of you might not be familiar with, but no worries, you still will be able to follow along. We are not going to discuss any specifics of coding, even though we are going to use some code snippets from different services, but it will be more about where to get them from, about copying and pasting them. Also, I'll be monitoring the chat once in a while, so I'll be answering your questions. Don't be shy to ask your questions here. After the webinar, I'll make sure to answer all the questions if you fit in the time frames. We have scheduled around 40 minutes. The questions I won't be able to address during this webinar, I will answer in our Facebook group within 24 hours after the webinar. The link to our group you can find in the description to this video. Recording of this webinar will be uploaded to our YouTube channel so that you can check it out later again at your own pace. So without further introductions, let's start with the first question for today. It's how to integrate a Boxmode contact form with Mailchimp. For those of you who don't know, Mailchimp is a SaaS platform that provides tools for managing and automating your email marketing campaigns. And to grow your email database for further marketing initiatives, a contact form is being used to capture visitors' emails. And Boxmode does have an option to integrate its native form with Mailchimp, and you can find this option under the Send Data To tab. All you need to do is to insert the API key from Mailchimp here. In simple terms, API, it helps third-party solutions to communicate, and by using API key, one application can unlock access to another application. And in this case, you need an API key from Mailchimp to allow your Boxmode website to add email addresses submitted through this form to your Mailchimp database. But where do you get this key from? To get a key, go to your Mailchimp account, go to the menu on the left, go to Accounts, and under Extras, you can see API keys. So go here and just create an API key. Click on Create and the key will be generated. Then you just copy the key, go back to your form and add a key here. Okay. So if you have different email lists in your Mailchimp, choose the one here where messages collected, emails collected through this form will be added to. I do have only one ID list, so I'll just go with it. And now, once connected, just republish the website. Okay, so let's refresh it. And let's submit something through this form. And let's send the message. And now if we go to our Mailchimp, go to Audiences, all contacts. Now you can see that the email address that we have submitted is now added to the Mailchimp database. Current integration with Mailchimp, it allows capturing emails only via the API. But what if you want to gather some extra information like first name and the last name as well on the top of email address? And this is the second question for today. And for this purpose, you need to create a Mailchimp form and add it to your Boxmode website. To create the form in the Mailchimp, go to Create, find the form, then you need embedded form, click on Begin, and here you'll be provided with tools to customize the form, choose the form layout, and so on. I'm not going to do this. You can play it on your own. And what you need to do next is just find this embedded code option, click on Generate Embedded Code, copy the code, go back to your website, and add this code through the HTML iframe widget. So let's do this. Save the change. Now let's stretch a bit this container so it fits the form. It's lagging a bit. Okay. Okay, so the container is ready, so we can republish the website. Let's refresh the page. Oops. Let's submit first name and the last name. Click subscribe. Okay, just come. So, and after we submitted the form, we can go back to audience, all contacts, and you'll see that the first name and last name along with email was added to your Mailchimp database. So I see a question here. I can't use the iframe widget. Do I need to upgrade? Yes, the HTML iframe widget is available only for growth subscription plan. So I hope it was easy to follow along. Let me know if you have any questions about this part, and let's move on to another question. What if you prefer some other service for email campaigns like Constant Contact or HubSpot or others? And quick Google search will yield lots of different results and services to facilitate email marketing initiatives. The approach for adding a contact form from any third-party service is approximately the same. I'm not going to go over the long list of these email services, and for this webinar, let's use a HubSpot as an example. So, and which it's another popular email service provider for email marketing campaigns. And when you see some email automation tool for the first time, you can be sure that it has lots of common things with other similar instruments, since they are aimed to help with the same tasks. And if you want to embed a form from some third-party service, you're looking for a form option, and which in this case you can find on the marketing tab. So let's go to forms, click on create the form. Again, we are looking at embedded form. We need embedded form, so let's go with it. And like in Mailchimp, you can choose a form template. Let's start with it. Now you can again customize the template, add different input fields, customize style, and so on. Again, you can play with it. I'm not going to do this now. And final step is going to be to embed this form. And by analogy, you'll find the option embed, click on it, find embed code, copy the code, and paste it again in the iframe widget. So you can see the process of embedding form into a website is relatively the same across different service providers, and similar approach you can apply to embed a form from any other email marketing service, not just Mailchimp or HubSpot. It's in case if native Boxmode form is not sufficient enough for your goals. Okay, so now let's move on to the following options. They're a bit more complex and require a bit more work. It is how to add a Facebook Messenger to your website, so it is synchronized with your main Facebook page, so visitors of your website can chat with you via Facebook Messenger. The end result will look like this. I already added this chat on this test website. So to accomplish this task, we need not just Facebook, but also Google Tag Manager. Don't worry, it's not going to be hard, and I will show you how to do this. And let's start with the Facebook part of this question, and go to the Facebook, open your business page that you manage. I have this test page. Open the settings, go to messaging, under the messaging scroll a bit down, you'll see add messenger to a website. Click on get started. So the first step is going to be to create a Facebook chat plugin, and you'll be prompted to enter the URL of your website. You can add multiple URLs, but make sure they're correct if you're planning to use this plugin across different websites. And then you can customize the initial message that people will see when opening the chat window. Also, you can add here frequently asked questions and answers, and you can customize a bit the appearance of this chat window, like changing the color, or you can change the alignment of the chat and add some margins to the bottom. So once you finalize the initial setup, click on setup. First step here is going to be set a language. Then again, to confirm the domain of your website where you wish this chat to work. And on the third step, you need to copy the code. And to finalize the chat plugin setup, click on finish, done, and click on publish. So now you have created a chat plugin and you have a code, but adding this chat plugin via HTML iframe will not work. Some of third-party services, they cannot cannot be embedded via iframe. One of such services is this Facebook Messenger, and another is Google AdSense. And in this case, the code must be added into the header of your website. But Boxmode does not have a tools that will allow you to do this. But there is a workaround, and you can use a Google Tag Manager as a medium to add third-party services, third-party codes into your website's head. So how it works? First, open the Google Tag Manager website. You can Google Tag Manager. You will find a link, and also I will ask my colleague to share a link with you in the chat. So it is free, but you need to have a Google account to use it first, and I think everyone has it nowadays. So what is Google Tag Manager? It's usually being used to manage different analytic codes, to track conversion, to track how people interact with the website, collect different site analytics. It is used for remarketing and more. And also it can be used to insert in third-party JavaScript codes into your website's header using this convenient interface. And this is exactly what we are going to do now. So once you are in the Google Tag Manager website, you'll be prompted to create an account. I already have an account, but you could create multiple accounts under one email. So let's create another one. Let's name it. Choose a country, and then along with the account we need to set up the container. As a container name we can use the name of the website, for example, and the target platform should be web in this case. So let's create and agree with this. Okay, so once you finish, the next step is going to be to add a tag. Tag is basically a container for holding the scripts, and the tag type should be custom HTML, and inside this input you just paste the code that you copied from Facebook. And let's name this tag. Let's name it Facebook chat. Of course, you can name it whatever you want, but as the number of tags grows, it is better to have some descriptive naming in place so that you can navigate easier in your account in the future. So as a trigger for this tag, let's choose all pages. It means that the code from Facebook that you're adding will be triggered on all pages of your website, and it means that a checkbox will be visible on each page of your website. So let's save the change. And now after we added the tag, we need to submit this container and publish it. We can skip this other stuff. So don't forget to publish it, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, so and the last step of adding the Facebook chat into a website is to connect your website with Google Tag Manager. To do this, you need to copy this ID of the Tag Manager. So copy it, go back to your website, go to Project Settings, Analytics. I already have a Tag Manager connected, so let me disconnect it. And paste this tag ID that you copied on the previous step. But make sure you removed all the spaces in front and after this ID, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, and click connect. So this is it, and you have connected the Messenger, the Facebook Messenger, to a website. So to recap, in order to add a chat, Facebook chat to a website, you need to create a chat plugin in Facebook. Then you need to register a Google Tag Manager account, add the chat plugin inside the Tag Manager, and connect. The last step is to connect the Tag Manager to a Boxmode website. If you missed something, I would like to repeat that the recording of this webinar will be uploaded to our YouTube channel so that you can check it out later again. Using Google Tag Manager, you can also add some custom-made banners or pop-ups or any HTML, CSS, JavaScript code in the header of your website. Basically, it scales a website's customization degree drastically. There are some restrictions, and Google Tag Manager does not support features of the ES6 version of JavaScript at the moment of this webinar. It means that widgets using this version of JavaScript will not work. Okay, let's move on to another question. It's embedding an Instagram feed. If you have an active and exciting Instagram business page, embedding a feed from it into a website, it will result in a boost of your website social proof. It is really easy to embed a single post in Instagram into a website. You can just open the post, go to settings of the post, find embed option, again copy the embed code and add it in the iframe widget. But what if you want to add an Instagram feed and you don't want to add each post separately, post by post, because it will be a hell of a lot of work to do this manually. And to add an Instagram feed, you can also use help from a third-party service. Again, quick Google search will show you a lot of tools for this purpose, but for the sake of this webinar, I'll be using this Embed Social service. They offer a freemium plan. Of course, it comes with certain restrictions, but it's sufficient enough to add the Instagram feed to a website. So once you create an account with Embed Social, you'll be prompted to choose the platform you want to display in your feed. Let's go with Instagram. Then on the next stage, we need to enter our username from Instagram. Make sure it is you're adding the Instagram business account, otherwise it's not going to work. So let's click on next, and here we need to choose a layout. So let's choose this one, click on create a widget, and now the service provides us with the widget code. And again, by analogy, we can just copy the code, go back to our website, and embed it into the HTML iframe widget. Let's add the widget here, paste the code, save the change. Okay, so I'm going to stretch it a little bit so it fits the widget. And whenever you add something to your Instagram page, after this, it will be dynamically updated on your website as well. Okay, you got the point. So, and let's move on to another question for today. And it's how to add appointment booking functionality, which is usually being used in a wide variety of different use cases that you can think of. Whether you are a consultant or cosmetologist or nail master, with Booking Calendar, your website visitors can basically check your availability and make reservations for specific dates. Boxmode currently does not have this feature, but it is really easy to add it to your website using third-party tools. And there are lots of instruments out there, and some of them are free, and some offer only free trials. And for this purpose, for this webinar, I'll be using the Calendly service as they offer a freemium plan. So once you register an account with Calendly, you can go to integrations, and inside the integrations under calendar connections, you can connect with your existing calendar. You can synchronize your existing schedule with this service to avoid double booking. So as you can see, you can connect to your Google Calendar, or Microsoft calendars, or iCloud calendar. So this, after connecting the calendar, this will be taken into account by this service when calculating and displaying your availability for future meetings with your customers. So under the availability tab, you can set up your weekly hours schedule you're working. So you can choose which days you work, the time frames you work, and the time zone, and so on. And once you set up your schedule, finally, let's create a bookable event. So say you are a real estate consultant and want customers to see your availability so that they can pick a time to meet with you. So for this purpose, let's choose one-on-one event. So let's create it. Let's name it. As a location, you can choose either offline or online location. For example, if you're connected with Google Calendar, you can also use Google Meets. If you integrate it with Zoom, under integration, you can use Zoom, and so on. So let's choose this offline location and put here some address. Click on update. Click on next. So, and on the next stage, you will be you can define basically how many days in the future people can book. So let's say indefinite in the future. Then you can define the event duration. You can choose whether you're going to be using your default schedule that you added in availability, or you want to use some custom schedule for this event. And also you can add some time buffer before and after event to avoid event collision and give yourself some time to write a follow-up or to prepare to another event. So there are many other options that you can use to customize event booking experience with this service. You can play with it on your own. I'm not going to cover them. And the question is how you can add it to your website. So say you have finalized this event setup, and now to add it to your website, open this event, click on share. You will see add to your website tab and click on embed in line, click on continue. Now again, you can see the code, just copy the code, go back to your website, and by analogy, just remove this one and add this one instead. And as you can see, the booking calendar is added to your website. So you can republish it. Let's refresh the page. It might take some time for changes to propagate. Okay, let me republish once again. I'm not sure why it's not working yet. So basically with this service, people can start booking events and they will receive an email confirmation right after the event was booked. And you also receive confirmation to your email address. All the details about the event will be added to that automated message. It also is going to be added automatically to your calendar. Okay, so I have some lags. Okay, let's use December. Let's choose this date, for example, choose the time and click on confirm. We can enter the name, email, and so on. So it's really a useful tool and really easy to use it and add it to your website. So, and the last question for today, the final question, is how to add a countdown timer. And the main purpose of a countdown timer is to create a sense of urgency. Also, businesses use it to count down when a special offer or discount will be available. The countdown timer widget is going to be added to the default Boxmode's feature set in the nearest future, but in the meantime we can use a third-party service to do this. Again, you can Google countdown timer embed and you'll find a lot of instruments here, and for the sake of this webinar I will be using this log work service. And it's self-explanatory what you need to do here. Choose the day, the time, and the day. You can choose the time zone, the language, the text, animation style, and so on. So once you customize this timer, again, you can click on embed on your website, and the system will generate a code for you that you can copy and go to your back to your website and paste this code in the iframe widget. Okay, so this is it for the presentation part. And just to wrap things up, you might not need the widgets that we added during this webinar, but the approach we discussed, it can be applied to adding any other third-party widgets that offer embedding. So roughly speaking, there are two types of widgets that you can add to your website. There are widgets that can be added via embedded code in the body of your website, like a form or Instagram feed or an appointment scheduling tool or countdown timer. And for this purpose, you can use the HTML iframe. And there are going to be widgets that cannot be added via iframe. It must be added into the head of your website, like a Facebook chat option, and usually such widgets will explicitly tell you to add them to the head of your website. And for this purpose, you can use a Google Tag Manager as a medium. Of course, not all widgets can be added this way, and some third-party tools that offer more complex functionality, they require a backend integration, and it's not possible to implement it on the Boxmode the way we discussed. And if you are not sure whether this or that feature from a third-party provider can be added to your Boxmode website, you can contact our support team and we will check whether it is possible to add it. So now let me check if we have any questions. By the way, we recently published an article that covers even more examples of extending the Boxmode's functionality with the third-party tools, and I'll ask my colleague to share a link with you in the chat. Well, to stay tuned for recent platform updates, news, plans, etc. You can join our Facebook community. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and you'll find all links in the description to this video. Also, I'll ask my colleague to share it with you in the chat. So I don't see that we have any questions, and thank you so much for attending our webinar. Hope it was informative and useful, and I hope that you learned something new today and some interesting things. So thanks once again, and see you later.